Men shouldn't whine though.
Yeah. Now another angle to it is, I'm thinking. So
Kind of wine, bro. Okay.
was it? Was it because?
Wow. Oh, okay.
So-
I thought you were talking about the liquid.
No.
Michael. Yes, you were saying
Okay,
something.
so we have. Let's look at how just the impact. Look at the preacher, and when they falter, they sin, right?
Right.
The impact of the people who follow. Okay, you find people going astray because he's a man of God, and him being a man of God is supposed to be a pillar or someone who inspires you to do right and be strong. So if they fall, it's like most people do fall. Okay. So maybe now I'm thinking, was it, or is it the reason that when we were told not to cry, we're not being really told not to cry because of ourselves, but because of people that look up to us, because of the functioning role that we have.
You know what that brings it down to as well, though? That comes down to responsibility and the weight of responsibility as well. I think that if people lay such a heavy burden on you, where other people lay their salvation on you, like in that situation, which is unfair and you shouldn't do that to another human being. They're a human being. They should also be allowed to walk their walk with God. That's also not to say, though, that you shouldn't be careful with your walk because but I think that's a heavy responsibility to lay on you. But if they lay this responsibility on you and we carry so much as men, it's actually even more important to cry. You get?
I actually want to throw a different angle on that one, because shouldn't we flip it maybe at some point? Because sometimes my crying in public, if I could put it that way, allows for somebody that's been holding it in to be able to break down.
So
Think
it's
of
a
a funeral arrangement. Not wishing anybody, that stuff sucks. But there's times where even a young lady, girl, sister, cousin, or whatnot, is also trying to bottle up their emotions. Most times, anybody that sees the father figure break down, they all break down.
No, it is honestly quite true.
Yeah, when they see the father figure break down, they all break down. And how's about we look at it as healing? Because anything that they could have held on to at that point, they have been able to let go. And moving on, the hurt is there, the memory is there, but they don't walk away from that place having something clogged up. Because sometimes I think you can not cry so long, like you put it, that the day you try to cry, it's like it's not there, and you need to. So sometimes I think what's symbolic maybe about men crying or allowing themselves to be weak, sometimes in that sense, quote unquote, is they allow for others to be vulnerable and weak in that moment and experience that possible healing that was behind a hard shell of some sort. That's how I look at it.
I got you. So in crying of itself, with everything that you do carry, I think as a man it's important to cry out to God.
Exactly.
It's important for you to break, because if you have this heavy responsibility and you have nowhere to lay it on or nowhere to cast it onto, because you're trying to carry it, it's going to choke you up. That's why it's important for. Yep. That's why it's important. Distractions. That's why it becomes important as a man. You need somewhere to cast your burden amongst your homies. Before God, it is important for you, because we do carry so much. It becomes important for you. Break down, you know what I mean? Cast the burden onto God, because you can't do this leadership thing alone. You lead with people and you lead under God. And if you can cast it onto God, it helps with the burden. Bringing it back to there, if you do break down, I think the wrong narrative is that once you break down, you won't get up. It's whining, it's weakness. But no, you can go through the process of, it's a loss, I'm broken, I'm messed, I'm crying before God, whining like a little baby. Yes, but I know how to get up. I'm here to cast it there. It's like David, considered a great man of God. He knew how to go before God, like a child, crying. You know what I'm saying? But he knows how to get up from it as a man with strength. Trusting God, you walk away with strength.
I'm looking at, if we were to rank, not really ranking, but we've got God, we've got man, our husband, then we've got wife, head, neck, right? Then the body, family, right? I'm thinking now, I was about to say the how and when of the crying matters.
Yeah,
okay?
it does.
Because sense of direction and levels, okay? My crying will have different meanings to my wife, I'll have a wife in 4 months. I don't have a wife right now. But my crying will have a different meaning. Okay. To my wife, it will have a different meaning to my child. Okay. My boy child. Yeah. Okay. So the different angles is how is my son looking at me when I'm crying. Okay. For example, they may tell you as a king and your warrior as David, they'll tell you don't cry in front of everybody, because the message which is being given to everybody is so different and not controlled.
It's wild. It's over. We're dead. We're doomed.
So it's like
men don't cry was an issue of controlling the narrative.
Almost. So there's the how and when. So it's like now the problem is it's so. This I'm thinking about it. There's a how and the when. We can't really write down the how should men cry. No.
It's the silent one that just allows like the
when should they cry? For example,
Denzel Washington.
it's okay for me to cry in front of my wife. Is it okay? That's the when. Is it okay? Or how is? Am I going to cry every time I'm weak? Am I going to cry in front of my kids? You get that? So that like being a leader, and because they're looking up to me, there's the when which matters, and I should cry. So when it's like the W's, man.
You know how I felt about that? You need to be able to cry in front of her. But she also needs to be able to protect you when you do show your weakness. But it's a place you have to be able.
But the question is it always?
No, of course not.
So that's what I'm saying. When you get that, it's like the how and when. It's not written down, it's not tabulated, but it's hard to balance it. Okay. Because of different messages. To my wife, he's opening up when I cry. You get that?
So I think we also need to throw in that how you relate with different people also matters. You know what I mean?
But the balance is this. When
there one standard for every situation?
What I like is where we started from. Remember when we said, let's change the definition of crying a bit.
Oh, okay.
Let's move away from it being just
tears.
whatnot, tears and thingy. And let's agree that to some extent it's about vulnerability.
All right.
Because if we're talking of crying, so it's not so much when you talk of the how and the when in front of my kids and whatnot. It's not always that I'll be able to tell my kids things like, how do I put it? Always be happy in front of my kids. Like not sad. I'm just always happy. They're able to see me happy. There are times they'll see me downcast. That's a cry of some sort. It might not necessarily be the tears cry, but it's a cry of some sort. So even when we talk of the different types of crying, if we can bring it there, it helps in a sense because it doesn't leave you without an option to cry because who's around. It's like communication. There's certain times I can't have a full-blown conversation with babe because we're in public. But you'll find there's things we're able to do to still communicate without really having that actual conversation. I might look at her a certain way, she gets the picture. I might hold her hand, she gets the picture, etc., etc., etc.
So with that definition, because I want to, because I was definitely thinking about tears. But with now the definition of vulnerability, yes,
that helps.
It becomes a place.
Exactly, because you need to be able.
You have
so for my partner can see the tears, but I should still be able. Like you're saying, maybe if we're going to talk tears and breaking down to a certain level in that sense, maybe I can't show that to everybody else. But there needs to be a form of you guys can come and find me and say, why are you downcast? You've not necessarily found me in tears, but you know there's something off. You can pick that vulnerability. But sometimes in men don't cry. We found a lot of men who are just pretenders. Where like in public here we are, it's all cool and thingy. Then we walk away from here, and then the guy goes home and is in his room and is like downcast, like shoop. He drinks an entire bottle, not even at a bar, in his room.
Guys, it's dangerous. You need boys around you. You need community. You need people that you can be vulnerable around. We carry so much as gentlemen. You need a place where you can be yourself. You can be real. Like it's, I'm telling you. Like that is so real, and suicide is high in men.
He's in shorts.
Like suicide is a high in men. Like
it is
under statistics. Because we bottle up things. We speak when it's too late. Let's talk about stuff like.
Sorry, when you said we bottle up things, like I just thought of social media recently.
We've been placed in bottles many times. That's why we brought up a lot of things. Just putting it out there.
If you bottle up things, maybe you are in someone's bottle. That's what we're saying. Think about it.
Think about it.
Think about it.
Let's conclude it. So in conclusion, one, definition of a cry has been broken down from it's not just a tears thing.
It's a vulnerability.
It's a vulnerability thing.
It's an outlet.
Okay. Genesis of men, boys don't cry. The intent of it was good. It
Be
was
strong.
not
Yes.
meant to create non-emotional showing robotic human beings that break down in private and then are
Yeah.
pretty messed up human beings in society. But the intent of it was a good thing. So that's one thing that we've settled. Vulnerability. For a life partner, you need to be at a place of vulnerability. That's
Yeah.
somebody who needs to be able to see you at a place of vulnerability because you can't do life alone. That's life partner
Something
situation.
deep, brother, when you talked about life partner. Deep. Anyway, if you're watching this, you're probably of age. The whole concept of nakedness before your partner goes beyond just the physicality of it.
Come on.
So when we talk of being vulnerable and her being the one to be able to see you cry, it's the whole concept of being able to be naked before this person. We're not talking just physically, so that you, if there's any pervs
Graphics.
out there, pervs, get it out of your mind. Out in Jesus' name. Yeah. But in essence, really, it's the whole issue of it's because if we're gonna talk of physical nakedness, for instance, you know the flaws, you know the scars, you know there'll be evidence of the bruises, the this, the that. So when we bring it and flip it to it's not just being physical, that's what we're talking about in being able to be that open before your partner. They know the scars, they know the bruises, they know the ouches, they know the whatever. That's what we're talking about. There needs to be somebody that's got you on that angle of things. Yeah.
But there's a lot of things.
Think about it.
Yeah, think about it. There's a lot of things we really need to dive in. Who's a man? The crying. Yeah, we've just scratched the surface. Yeah, talking about, for example, hows and when there are levels. There's a different cry when you're crying to God. There's a different cry when you're crying to a woman. There's a different cry. For example, we talked about not showing the actual tears, but how will my son know that I'm okay? You know, so that they can draw strength from me as well. So all those little things, and maybe going forward, we may have someone older than us, you know, with gray beards, to find out, to ask them, what do you think this statement means? We may have a survey. Men don't cry. What does it mean to you? Okay. Should I cry? Shouldn't I cry? What is crying? Then from there we can move forward to
Build it up.
especially defining who a man is, because I feel there's a lot of confusion
big,
going on. There's a lot of
topic right
attack
there.
going on manhood. Okay, so that needs to be chopped up, brightened up. Yeah,
Master Chef.
yeah.
After.
Cool.
All right, I think we are.